My name's Alex Dyke. Good afternoon. Welcome. Our producer this afternoon is Kane Reeves, so if you place a call for our television quiz, the TVQ, it's Kane who will pick up the phone. You always know when you ring the BBC, when you ring BBC Radio Station, you always know if it's Kane. If he sounds like he's got his mouth full of food, yeah, that's Kane Reeves. 0808 100 3800. 0808 100 3800 should you need our number to get back to us on anything we say or play. If you're texting 81333, please make the first word silent. 81333, please make the first word silent. And you can email alexdykeshow@bbc.co.uk. So David Paynton from Pilot is going to be hooking up with us from the BBC in Scotland this afternoon, and we'll be talking about some of his greatest hits, what he's up to now. The band Pilot still played ever such a lot on the radio, particularly hits like January and Magic. We'll do your emails, we'll do your texts, we will play the TVQ, the television quiz. Kane's got BBC music news for you, and we've got a retro chart between 3 and 4 from today, 1974. Some other bits and pieces, and of course we are knee-deep with great tunes as well. So hope you, if you've just come back to BBC Radio Silent after a long time away, or you've changed your routine and you're listening for longer or whatever, yeah, it would be great if you could make it a regular date with us. Afternoon Wall of Sound, Monday to Friday, 1 till 4.
On Clued Up, you are the star of the show.
You've got the junction to come up the A36 to Salisbury. It's the third exit off that roundabout.
As we aim to solve 5 cryptic clues set by the cunning clue guru.
Branch out west for today's swan song. No nightmares here, it's a tonic.
That lead us to 5 clue keepers across Hampshire, Dorset and the Isle of Wight.
You are my clue keeper then.
I am your clue keeper, yes.
Hooray!
There's no time for indecision.
Just start the car and go straight and then we'll get there. Honestly.
Just 180 minutes to solve the clues and beat the clue guru.
Are you my clue keeper? I am your clue keeper. Yes!
Clued Up with Pat Sissons.
Join me Sunday morning from 9.
BBC Radio Solent.
The sound of the South.
Yeah, we do lots of name checks, lots of Hall of Famers, top of the classes and all that. After our guest for this afternoon, David Paynton from Pilot. One of my faves.
Call me round, call me round, don't be afraid, why don't you call me round, don't be afraid, just call me round. If any time you feel alone, don't you be sad, you can pick up the phone and I'll be home. I could make you mine tomorrow. Let me know you care. Tell me what I want to hear and I'll be there. Yes, I'll be there. Call me round. Call me round. Don't be afraid. Just call me round. I know that you're the only one. I know you should be here to carry on, carry on. I could make you mine tomorrow. Let me know you care. Tell me what I want to call me round, and I'll be there, so call me round, and I'll be there, so call me
Good afternoon, this is BBC Radio Solent, the afternoon wall of sound with me, Alex Dyke. David Paynton from Pilot is here. Hello, David.
Hello, Alex. Nice to speak to you again.
Yeah, and it's nice to have you back on the show. So are you now at BBC Radio Scotland in Edinburgh?
I am, and it's a nightmare trying to park round here, but yes, I made it.
Good. Well, we're glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining us. You're here by our request because I'm a big fan of your music. And I don't know if you remember this. I'm just going to quickly tell this story again. You probably remember it from the last time we were interviewed, but it's such a good story. And I think you told me it wasn't true, which is a shame. I'm walking to school. It's 1975. I'm with my best mate, Fred. He says, "Did you see Top of the Pops last night?" And I said, "No." He said, "Oh, it was really good. Pilot were on there. They're number one with January." But of course, January didn't get to number one until February, did it? He said they sang February instead. And I could never, ever prove it until a couple of years ago you came on the show, and I think you said it didn't happen, Alex.
No, it didn't happen. However, I did do commercials for a company, and because the commercial ran from January through February, I did re-record the song and sung February, but that was only last year. I've never done it before.
Wow, it was a good story. I don't know why he told me that. It wasn't like he was lying. It was like he convinced him. Maybe he just misheard it. But yeah. Anyway, so the interesting thing about you, David, is that Pilot songs are bigger than the band. Steve Priest from The Sweet once told me this. He said The Sweet were massive, Alex, in the UK, but in America we had 3 or 4 big songs and we weren't a big band. And as the years have gone by, okay, you don't hear Call Me Round and Get Up and Go and Just a Smile so much on the radio now, in fact hardly ever. But January and Magic have been played again and again and again, and you've actually been eclipsed by your own work.
That's true. And you know, it's a great pleasure when I'm speaking to younger people and they ask me, you know, they know I'm a musician, have you written any songs that I might know? And as soon as I mention Magic, everybody seems to know the song. If I mention Pilot, nobody knows who Pilot were. So yeah, it's a great thrill for young people, especially, to know the songs I wrote eclipsing 45 years ago.
Absolutely, but they are forever green. I mean, Magic and January still sound great on the radio now. I put all that down to the production because you work with some pretty cool people, and of course your songwriting skill and that great vocal of yours, but also down to the Pilot hand clap or drum beat. I mean, that should have been, you know, like in the late 70s there was that boom on all those disco records, and it got old-fashioned very, very quickly. But the Pilot hand clap or drum beat, it's like timeless.
That was mainly a Beatles influence. They had a huge effect on me and the way I wrote songs and constructed the songs. So the hand claps were there even on the demo, although, as you say, we worked with some great producers, be it Alan Parsons being the main guy who produced Magic and January.
You know, you've mentioned the Beatles. It never got bigger than Sinatra, Elvis and the Beatles. And all of those 3 guys must have heard Magic on the radio. Did anyone ever come back to you? Did anyone ever really come back to you like a Beatle and say, "Hey, I like that Magic. That's a great track"?
I worked with Elton John, and while we were rehearsing for the Live Aid concert, George Michael sang with Elton at that concert. So we were rehearsing, and I saw Elton at the back of the rehearsal room with George Michael, and he was pointing over to me, and George Michael walked over to where I was sitting with my bass, and he said, "Hi David, I just wanted to say to you that January had a huge effect on me, and it's just really nice to say hello to you. It's a great song." That was a wonderful moment for me, for somebody of that stature to say, "I love your songs," you know.
That is amazing. I never knew that. That is a great story, David. And actually, when you think of some of the stuff George Michael did, even like Last Christmas, I can imagine you writing something like that. So Yeah, that totally marries up perfectly for me.
He told me that he listened to that song 100 times. He says, I just had it spinning over and over and over again. So I'm really glad that he liked the song so much.
That's amazing. Right, so we kicked off with Call Me Round. Do you still like that song?
Yeah, of course I like it. Yeah, I like a lot of the early Pilot stuff now. I don't actually visit the recordings that often, but when I do hear them, I think, oh yeah, it still sounds kind of fresh in a way, to me anyway.
Do
to my
you
ears.
think, who is this young guy who recorded all this stuff? I don't remember him like that. Or where was he getting all these crazy ideas from? I wish I could get ideas like that now.
I do think like that, and I've seen a couple of YouTube videos, and I see myself, and I think that's my son. You know, it's just so long ago. It's like another life.
Let's do another hit. You'll know this one.
Oh, January, don't go, don't go.
There it is. There's January. We were talking about it with David Payton from Pilot just a moment ago. That song, and now I know Magic was a massive hit in America. Was January a hit all around the world?
It was, except for America. I think it made the top 100, the Billboard 100, but it wasn't as recognised as Magic was. In fact, Magic in America was top 5. It only reached number 11 here when it was released. But both the songs were huge in places like Australia, South America. In fact, January was number 1 in Australia for 11 weeks.
Wow, which took it over 3 months then. So what, January,
Yeah.
February and March?
Yeah, and they only had the one video of us that they kept playing on their countdown show, and people were getting fed up with the same video.
Well, when Magic was a hit in America, I would imagine for a very British-based band like Pilot, that was a huge bonus. And I'm wondering, did EMI send you to America to work the single and get you on all of the top TV shows, or was it just a Top of the Pops video that was sent over?
It was just the Top of the Pops video that was sent over, and I'm really surprised that they didn't take advantage of that, because we could have had a bigger impact in America if we had actually gone over there and did a publicity tour or even just a tour. That would have been great. We all wanted to do that, but our hands were tied, and our management was not the best management. We made a mistake there, but they had the success everywhere, worldwide, and for me as a writer, that is a great achievement.
That is great, but Pilot's career didn't last as long as it should have done. And maybe groups in those days most groups only had 2 or 3 years of top 40 action. In 77, you sign a new deal with Arista Records. You bring out the brilliant Get Up and Go. We talked about that last time you were on. Clive Davis, Mr. Arista Records himself, backed that single with everything he had, and it should have been a huge hit, and it wasn't. Then it seemed you just disappeared, and is that when you went off with the Alan Parsons project?
Yeah, from the concept of Pilot, I was doing studio work in Edinburgh when I was 18, 19. And I always enjoyed doing that kind of work rather than be a frontman to a band. So when Pilot took off, word of mouth, people, producers, etc., they started to get in touch with us and say, oh, can you do this session for Kate Bush, for Chris Rea, for Christopher? And it kind of ate into all the time that I had. And I also thought to myself, I've found my niche here doing these session work. And, being a frontman in a band was quite a lot of pressure for me at that time, and I didn't really handle it that well. So when I started working with other musicians as a bass player, I really enjoyed it and was very relaxed in that kind of position.
That's very honest of you to say so, because most people want to be the guy out front you were getting your face on Lookin' magazine and on Fab 208, and of course you were doing all those TVs like Supersonic and Top of the Pops and travelling the world. Most young boys, and I was a teenage boy at the time, you're a little bit older than me, they would have been quite envious of the lifestyle they perceived that you were living.
Yeah, well, there's a downside to that as well, because I had a good social life in Edinburgh before Pilot became famous, and I still even at Christmas time now, there's about 20 of my mates. We all go out together for a Chinese meal and a good laugh. So I was deprived of that when Pilot were famous. I found I couldn't go to the pub with them for a drink. I couldn't go to the cinema. I couldn't go to a club, certainly. So that was the downside, and that's a big part of my life, so I missed all that.
Let's play something new. You've sent us a new track. Tell us about this.
I have been working with a Japanese band who were originally known as Beagle Hat. We had two very well-acclaimed, successful albums in Japan over the last 10 years. This is a new album, and they've had to change their name for legal reasons, and they've called themselves Sheep. Now, Sheep, you think, what a strange name, but when you hear it, you don't forget it. You'll not forget, oh, that band's called Sheep. So this is a new album. We co-write all the songs. If there's a song that they want me to sing, well, I do. I sing all the songs. But if they've written a song and they send it to me, I'm listening to them singing in Japanese with a rough transcript of what the lyric is. So I'll put together the lyrics and then I'll sing the song for them. Some of the songs are written by me, some of them are written by the guys, but I defy you to tell me which songs were written by me and which songs were written by them. It's a huge Beatle influence in what we create, and it's a very happy collaboration. I enjoy it very much.
So what song from the ones you've sent us are you going to choose for us, David?
Melody in Mind is a good song, very well, nicely put together, written by one of the Japanese guys. I'd like you to play that.
All right. Thank you very much for being on the show, David.
Thank you, Alex. Nice to talk to you.
I can understand what you tried to say. Secrets that we found won't just fade away. Maybe if we listen, we will all learn more. Then we can find what we came here for. Now we dream in color, not black and white. Now we hear the sound and see the light. Everything is clear and feels so right. All in my mind like a melody. I can see your face looking down on me from a hiding place. Tell me what you see. Just reach out and touch me. You can feel I'm alive. Then you believe we can all survive. Now we dream in color, not black and white. Now we hear the sound and see the light. Everything is clear and feels so right. All in my mind like a melody. This is the sound that keeps us sane. It takes the hurt and kills the pain. The sound of feeling. The sound that soothes a savage beast, turns a famine to a feast. The sound of meaning. It's all we can
Brighton. Well done, congratulations. Really like Melody in My Mind, very Beatles. Hey David, I really like that. That was a pre-recorded interview, by the way. David is listening to that in Scotland now. We recorded it yesterday. That's only half of the interview. And we're going to run the other half of it next week or the week after. We've got lots of guests coming up now. But yeah, we do talk about the other pilot hits. And I really like that. It's like a John Lennon Beatles song. But David sounds very Paul McCartney, I think, when he sings it. Right, I just want to say hello to Colin Butler. Colin, your email has really, really touched me. If it's okay with you, I'm going to share it with our listeners in the next 10-15 minutes. I don't want to rush it now, going up to news and traffic and travel. But Colin Butler, thank you so much for your email. It's your email that really does make all the difference as far as I am concerned doing this show.